Morning, guys. Sorry I'm not there today. Um, if you saw the email, obviously you did. The boy's not feeling so good, so we needed to stay home with him today. But hopefully I'll see you guys on Wednesday. Okay. I gave you a set of instructions for what I'd like you to accomplish. We should be able to get this all finished by the end of class, so you don't have too much else to take with you after we meet today. We're starting a new chapter. All right, everybody's scores should be posted on campus. The couple guys that still owe me a test, we're going to have to um, delay it until I return, or I can activate it on campus for you to complete. Just email me separately. All right, we'll get it handled. All right. Um, okay, let's get started. As you guys can see, we're going to move into something that it flows very nicely with what we just got done talking about. Okay, we've been talking about learning right before Christmas, and then we moved into memory, and now we're going to just get even bigger and talk about this idea known as intelligence. All right, a lot of the guys in the honors class really get a kick out of this because you're curious about it. You all are highly intelligent. You wouldn't be honors guys if you weren't, and so this chapter is going to hopefully educate you even more on what psychologists think it is and the many different types of it too. Okay, and we'll have some great discussions, and yes, we'll take plenty of IQ tests and look at a bunch of IQ questions, um, so you get a really good feel for what an IQ test looks like, which is a lot different than your ACTs, your SATs, and I think you'll really enjoy those. All right, before we define the term intelligence, I want to define a couple things first, and then it will get us to the definition of intelligence. Intelligence is made up of a bunch of different things. One of the things that you could say intelligence is made up of is a series of abilities. Okay, everybody listening to this, everybody in the class, you are full of abilities. It is any skill that you can demonstrate that probably needs no more additional training, such as riding a bike, perhaps, or if you're a skater, you could say that that is a skill. Let's stick with an academic example, and psychologists say that your GPA is considered an ability. All right, now what also can make up a person's intelligence is his or her aptitude. And aptitude is your potential ability. You've probably seen or heard that word before. It's what the letter A stands for in SAT, Scholastic Aptitude Test. And that test, along with the ACT, are aptitude tests, which means they are trying to test your future ability, okay, which might be hard to understand right now, but it will make more sense as we go along. It is anything that is designed to predict your future achievement. So that's why a lot of colleges like you to take these kinds of tests, is they don't want to know just how smart you are right now. They want to see how smart are you going to become, how valuable are you going to be as a student to their university. And different colleges place different emphasis on aptitude tests. Why? Because the correlation between GPA and aptitude test scores are not as positive as you think. They are mostly positive, but not always. You would think that the higher GPAs have the highest aptitude or standardized test scores, but it's not a very strong correlation. So colleges are learning about that more and more, and so they place different types of emphasis. Like Cornell, for example, places a lot of emphasis on the ACT and the SAT. But many of you might know that a school like Lindenwood has an opt-out option where you do not have to supply your ACT score because there are other skills that they look at, okay? But that can also be considered a type or a part of a person's intelligence. So here are a couple definitions. These are standard run-of-the-mill textbook definitions. The first one, which I think is pretty general, still too general, is the general intellectual ability or abilities involved in learning and adaptive behavior. We've talked a ton about learning. We've talked a lot about how we are adaptive creatures. The people that can do that the best, by definition, would then be considered the most intelligent. But take a look at this. This is a little bit more in depth, and I like this. It says the ability to learn from experience, solve problems, and use knowledge to adapt to new situations. That specifies it a lot more, and I think should give you a better idea of what we think an intelligent person embodies. Learning from experiences, that means compensating for weaknesses, a good problem solver, and being highly, highly adaptive to new situations. There is a lot more to this, but I think this is all good, a good place for you guys to start. Okay, so let's break down what it means to be intelligent a little bit more. There's two columns here, and if I haven't said this yet, which I don't think I have, guys, these are notes, and I want you to put these in your notes. You are going to need these as we go on. There are two viewpoints. Okay, when people were asked, tell me what you think an intelligent person looks like, or I should say sounds like, acts like, and people were asked, like normal everyday people, we call them layperson views, and then professionals, psychologists who've been researching intelligence have offered their opinions on what they think an intelligent person embodies. Here are the layperson opinions. The layperson, that common everyday people think intelligent people are very good problem solvers. That means they are logical, open-minded, and good decision makers. So having a high problem solving ability. Lay people also think if you have good verbal skills, okay, good verbal skills means you speak, read, and write very well. Your grammar is good. Your vocabulary is good. You know, I know you guys are so active on social media. If you don't place a whole lot of emphasis on this, you don't think it makes that big a deal. Ask yourself, when you read somebody's posts, somebody's Instagram post or Snapchat or tweet, and it's so poorly misspelled and the grammar is terrible, you judge them a little bit, don't you? You kind of look at them as maybe a little less intelligent in that moment when they don't use good grammar and they confuse your and your and there and there, things like that. I'll show you some funny examples here in a little bit, but that's something that common everyday people think is a good sign of intelligence. And then this is a huge one. This one is growing in popularity, which is called an emotional intelligence, social skills. All right. Having very good social interaction skills is what's known as being emotionally intelligent. Okay. The psychologists, on the other hand, don't necessarily disagree with those, but they have their own way of looking at things. They say intelligence can be broken up into three main categories. Having a practical intelligence, which would be like street smarts, a overall common sense of things is what's known as having a strong practical intelligence. If you have street smarts, then you should be able to make your way through life without too many difficulties, according to them. Then there's a creative intelligence, okay? We're going to talk about creative intelligence a lot. In fact, one of the things that I want you to pick up on the podium today is a creative intelligence test. It is not for a grade, it is purely for fun. But these are creative intelligence questions. That means they often have more than one answer. So I'm really excited, and I like to give this out to you guys on this day to see where your heads go and what ideas you can come up with to solve these problems. So make sure that you grab a creative intelligence worksheet on the podium, which is right next to the chapter review packet. All right, and I will talk about the due date for the review packet later. And then the last one they say is having a good analytical intelligence. Okay, the definition there says using a person who uses all available resources to make the best decision. So that word, analytical, they are very careful. All right, not impulsive people, but they sit back, they process a situation carefully, and then use all mechanisms and skills available to make the best decisions about all things in life. Okay, they can acquire new knowledge and, yes, solve problems very effectively. So you can see there's a little bit of an overlap, but then there's also some differences in opinion. The most recent update over the past year or so is psychologists now 100% agree that a social competence is also a big measure of intelligence. Okay, so there they are. I I know that it is a lot, but I like this because I want you to think about how there's so many different types of intelligence. And what we're going to talk about over the next couple of days is which ones maybe are more important or which ones are more necessary. Okay, and there's going to be a difference in opinion, but that's the great thing about it is there's not one single correct answer. So that brings me to the six. Okay, so here's the six that I just talked about with you guys. All right, the ones on the kind of I don't have my stylist. I can't draw, but you can see problem solving ability, social competence, and down in the bottom left, verbal ability. Those are the three from the lay people. And then practical, analytical, and creative. Those are the psychologist viewpoint, with social competence kind of being the overlap. I want to end the day with you giving trying that creative intelligence test. Okay, see how many of those you can get correct. There's actually some on the back also for you to try, and then you can come to class on Wednesday. Hopefully, I'm there with any questions for your work for today. I'd like you to get on campus and answer one simple question. And the simple question is, which of these do you think takes the cake? Which of these, if you had to pick one, jumps out to you as this is what I think an intelligent person is? When I think of an intelligent person, it is someone who displays which of these six. Now, spoiler, guys, you know that the answer is often a combination, but I want to see what your raw reaction is to this. When you think of an intelligent person, is it someone who's just highly street smart, or is it someone with an incredible vocabulary? Vocabulary, not me. Look at these, for example. When you read posts like this, these things make me cringe. I think my grandma got diabetes. You know, Probably a bunch of these are for jokes, but not all of them. You probably have friends that do things like this. So have fun reading these for a moment. Ask yourself, are those signs of intelligence? Okay. So what I'd like you to complete for the day is um, that question. Which of these do you think is the most important, jumps out to you the most? And just write 4 or 5 sentences to defend to make your argument, to make your opinion known. All right, and then submit that. Make sure you've got a copy of the packet. All right, there was a vote that we want to keep these chapters separate and not combine chapters for bigger tests. So we're just going to try to go through this one as quickly as we can. Take a stab at those creative intelligence questions. Be good for the sub. All right, and email me if you guys have any questions. All right, thank you very, very much for listening. Have a good day, and hopefully I'll see you guys next time.